Welcome back to New England Living. Up next, we're meeting up with renowned chef and innovator Adam Melonis, founder and CEO of Chew. What a great location, just steps from Fenway Park. What goes on here?
A little bit of everything. At a macro level, we're in the food and beverage innovation industry. So effectively what that means is we're just every day trying to reinvent the food and beverage system. Over the years, we've seen, unfortunately, what poor eating and drinking choices have done to the population. So I think helping people understand that delicious and nutritious are not mutually exclusive notions. So we're kind of here to bridge that gap. And if you then couple the challenges of climate change and the fact that certain major global crops soon won't be available, there's an absolute need right now, before, and in the future for companies like Chew.
So you're from Australia, you've lived all over the world. How did that lead you to this?
I had restaurants all over the world. I woke up one day and realized I was in the business of expensive food for rich people, which was so amazing for my ego, but it was never making an impact in the world. And what I said was, we get this finite life to live, and the idea is that let's create the maximal possible impact with each and every day of that. So I started Chew 10 years ago now to really try to go after the solutions that make the maximal impact for the widest possible part of the population.
Give us an idea of some of the products that you're working on here.
I would say, not to be a cliche, but I think everyone sees the excitement going on within plant-based meat analogs. I think at its early stage, it was very much about a sacrifice. You know, a ground beef burger is one ingredient, whereas most of the early entries into the market were 30 ingredients. How do you reduce the ingredient line? How do you make them demonstrably better for you? And actually, if not parity to the original product, so beef being obviously very high in protein, how do we reach those same levels of protein, but eliminate some of the bad things like massive amounts of saturated fat? That's what we're responsible for.
What types of brands are you working with?
The biggest in the world. For the first many years of the company, we only worked with billion-dollar brands. The reason for that particular trajectory is because that's where we can have maximal impact. And when we can quantify the impact that we're creating to the population in metric tons or whatever the volume is of how much sugar we're saving, how many artificial ingredients we're removing, for me, that's the pride that we feel every single day.
What are some of those ways that you can quantify how you're making the population a little healthier?
Sugar is, except if you're a triathlete, sugar is public enemy number one, right? So the dramatic reduction of copious amounts of sugar. We call this notion we fight for every gram. If we can bring it down by 1 gram, why not 2? Artificial ingredients are very, very close to number one. And then, lots of sodium, saturated fat, things like that. Anything that shouldn't be there, we remove. One of the things we focus on is we will target the things that others deem to be impossible. I will tell you that that's most definitely the seed of my entire career. I still remember I was 15 years old, had started my apprenticeship with the Hyatt Hotel in Australia, obviously where I'm from. Someone said to me one day, you can't turn pineapple juice into a jelly. And the following day was my day off. I came in, 8 hours later, slid a container across the bench and said pineapple jelly. And everyone said, how did you do that? And I said, that's not the question. The question is, how many other things are you telling me that can't be done that can actually be done? So the way that we approach everything around here is exactly that. Someone says can't be done, that's where we focus. Every challenge we ever have, we put behind it a combination of people that arguably haven't been put behind some of those tasks before. We have restaurant chefs coupled with food scientists, bachelor's, masters, PhDs, engineers, design team, etc. They look at that same challenge, where what we say around here is what we want to achieve collectively, what individually none of us would have ever achieved before.
One of those team members helping lead food innovation at Chew is scientist Kyle Stewart. Kyle, you're a scientist here. What goes on in the kitchen at Chew?
As a food product innovation lab, we develop a lot of different food products, beverages that end up in grocery stores or restaurants. And you'll notice as you kind of look around this space, there's a lot of specialized equipment that sometimes you'd normally only find in a chemistry lab or some high-end kitchens. So we'll use some of these specialty equipments to really characterize the food we're working with or understand in depth what each ingredient is made up of so that we can be more intentional with the types of products or the types of nutrition that we deliver to consumers.
Okay, you have to explain what's going on here because this is looking very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a rotary evaporator. What this allows me to do is normally if you were going to cook something down on the stovetop, you'd have to bring it up to about 212 degrees Fahrenheit to boil off that water and concentrate something down. What this piece of equipment allows me to do is boil essentially at a low temperature. So I can create very concentrated, very flavorful solutions without having to cook and degrade the product on the stovetop.
With all the groundbreaking innovation happening at Chew, they still have to make it palatable for the consumer.
One of the greatest challenges of what people deem to be healthy food is that mostly when healthy food is created, it's designed with health first, I would say taste last. If you try to convince people to put down fried chicken and pick up a kale salad, it doesn't work. Because frankly, let's be honest, fried chicken is delicious. And a kale salad, although it can be delicious, it's not fried chicken. So in order to create the most profound change, we need to put taste as number one. But the must-have is the health component. So therefore you design and you execute in a vastly different way.
What's next for Chew?
Good question. We are now starting to push into the phase of the company which is really around that true democratization of good food. So we've gone into the consumer goods industry for now 10 years to try to make that demonstrably better. I won't say mission achieved, but I will tell you that we've made a pretty sizable impact. So I would tell you it's less about the shiny new objects of the inspiring, exciting new consumer products that we all love to go to. And it's more about how do we target that nutrition in a super exciting way, in a really delicious way, but make it accessible to everybody.